Hey guys, Mike in the woods here. So recently I've done a fair amount of winter camping, and recently it's become really clear to me just how different and difficult it is to get drinking water out in the backcountry in the middle of winter, especially when it's cold enough that everything's frozen. So today I wanted to take everything that I've learned and just distill it into a short video for you guys, because if you're new to the idea of winter camping and you want to try it, I want to be as much help as possible. So subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let's take a look. In winter, you've actually got two primary water sources to get drinking water from. The first is your standard creek, lakeshore, or other body of water like any other time of year, and the second one is actually snow. The problem with that first one, though, is that water freezes in winter, obviously. Where you want to pull water from might be iced over, especially if it's still and doesn't flow at all. I mean, you might get lucky and ice hasn't set over it yet, or it might just be a thin layer that can easily be broken through with a stick or a rock or something. But if you're really unlucky, especially if it's in like the middle of the coldest parts of winter, the ice might be really thick, requiring you to chip through it with an axe, or it might be completely frozen through. You can, of course, melt the ice itself for water if you can chip away at it and get it into a pot. And like I said, the second option of using snow is obviously only relevant if there's enough snow on the ground to use. You just scoop it up and boil it right on the fire. Keep in mind, though, that snow, even when packed hard into the pot, melts down to only like a fifth of the volume. So you'll have to keep adding snow to the pot until you get enough water in there for whatever you need it for. Okay, so you've got the water, now what? It goes without saying, but obviously never drink any water sourced from outside, even if it looks completely clean, without treating it in some way first. If you're familiar with hiking or backpacking in the warmer months, your first inclination might be to use a water filter of some kind, like a Katadyn or a Sawyer. Unfortunately, they're no bueno in winter for one main reason. If you let water freeze in the filtration membranes, the expanding ice will likely cause them to crack, compromising the filter's ability to do its job. In fact, if you ever even suspect that you've had water freeze in your filter at all, dispose of it and get a new one, just don't trust it. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. Instead, the go-to method in cold weather is the time-tested tradition of just boiling it. Bringing water to a rolling boil for a hot minute and it's good to go. If you're using snow or ice, you have to melt it anyways, so you might as well just go the full mile and use the fire to completely kill off whatever parasites or bacteria or viruses might be in there. You can use your campfire, obviously, if you have one going, but if you're on the move and you don't really want to spend the time to get a full campfire set up, it's a good idea to have like a twig burner stove or other camp stove that works in cold temperatures. So, your water's boiled, and now you need to wait for it to cool down to drink, right? Well, actually no, not really. One thing I like to do is make teas, coffee, hot chocolate, etc. with my freshly boiled water. It doesn't need to be cold in order to hydrate you, and in fact, while it's still hot, it has the added benefit of helping warm you up as well. I mean, obviously you will still need some for on the go. At that point, you might need to consider how to stop your water from refreezing. If it's close to the temperature outside where water freezes, you might not have to worry about it too much, but in colder temperatures, water can freeze surprisingly fast if it's not constantly managed. You can get away with plastic bottles if you're careful to keep them from freezing, but you'll notice a lot of seasoned backcountry campers instead go for a metal bottle of some kind, one that they can throw right in the fire to remelt any water inside that's frozen, as well as to boil the water in the first place. At the very least, you don't want soft hydration water bladders. The super thin tubes can freeze very quickly, and the bladders themselves freezing might damage them and cause leaks. You can try to prevent your water bottles from freezing in a few ways. You can keep it in an inner jacket pocket close enough to your body that your body heat keeps it warm. You can keep it next to the campfire close enough that it catches some radiant heat, but far enough away that your bottles don't melt. Ask me how I know. As well as keeping it in your sleeping bag overnight so your body heat keeps it warm enough. If you don't wind up going with the metal water bottle, at least make sure you have a large enough pot to boil enough water at a time. As it is obviously more time consuming to boil water, being able to do a large batch at once makes the process go smoother. Personally, I use a 3-liter titanium pot so that I can do up basically a full batch of water all at once. Amazon affiliate link in the description if you're interested. You'd think that the middle of summer would be the easiest time to get dehydrated out in the backcountry, right? I would actually argue the exact opposite, the middle of winter when it's cold and frigid out. In summer, assuming you're not isolated from water sources, you can go and retrieve water as much as you want and quickly. In winter, it's a more time-intensive process, and you might be boned if there's no snow on the ground and everything else is absolutely iced over. Not to mention, on a really cold day, the air is actually super dry. Don't underestimate how quickly that can sap your moisture away, especially overnight when you're breathing that cold, dry air all night long. Combine all that with your water bottles freezing often when it's super cold, and you have a surprisingly effective recipe for dehydration. Just something to keep in mind, it definitely takes more mental effort to stay on top of hydration in the middle of winter. So there we go, that's all of my experience with getting drinking water in cold, wintry conditions. Hopefully this helps and paints a clear picture for you. If you have any of your own tips, let me know in the comments down below. I'll also leave some Amazon affiliate links to gear that I use in the description, so check that out if you're curious. If you're new to the channel, I combine traditional outdoors experiences with fun, futuristic tech. Take a look at my other videos and consider subscribing if that's your thing. Alright guys, I'll see you later.